Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Ad Project Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joe Shellerud from Ad Advance, and today I'm joined by Jon Tilley. Jon, it's awesome to have you on the podcast.
What's up, Joe? Yeah, we just saw each other in Vegas and for the Prosper Show, so good to see you.
Yep. Good to see you again. For those who aren't familiar with you, just kind of give us a quick background. You've got a fun story in the Amazon space. Give us a quick background and kind of what you're up to now.
Yeah, sure. I'm Jon Tilley, the co-founder and CEO of ZonGuru. I'm based in Los Angeles. The accent is originally South African. I came all the way over here in 2006. My main gig before being involved in the Amazon world was on the agency side. So I was part of some pretty big agencies globally. On the digital advertising side, on the strategy side, in South Africa, and then London for a few years, and then over in Los Angeles. So I know the agency advertising world really well. It was around 2013 that I launched a few of my own private label brands. Many of us did it over that period, and I did well with that, and exited my 9-to-5 gig in the agency world, and then a few years after that, I launched ZonGuru as a software platform in 2016, late 2016. So we've been around for quite some time. Truly passionate about creating brands on Amazon as an initial channel that hopefully you can grow beyond. I still think it's an amazing. It has been, and it's an amazing opportunity for anyone out there, in a very dynamic space. So we've built our tools over the years. We've got about 18 different tools now that service SMB, private label sellers, and recently in the last 8 to 10 to 12 months, a lot of agencies as well that are on our platform. It's really an operational tool set to help you with your Amazon growth. Really around research, niche validation, and then our key tools around keyword research, listing optimization, and then all the tools that you need to kind of manage all of that, dashboards, alerts, etc. So plenty of tools and lots of engagement and opportunity now and in the future. So very exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's fun too, because we both got started in the Amazon space kind of around the same time. You beat me by a year. So I was 2014, started my own private label brand. And then it was around 2016 that I started helping out on the advertising side. 2017 is when Ad Advance kind of formally came into fruition. So it's kind of fun seeing that too. And starting as sellers, you were building out specific tools for yourself that you saw that you needed. We were doing the same and just took a little bit different paths, but all providing tools from the Amazon side. And personally, I'm obviously biased, but I feel like it's really nice having the Amazon seller background when building out these tools, because I feel like it just provides a little bit different perspective as you're looking through these things day to day.
100%, just to kind of give you a little bit more insight on that, I think one of the magical moments that happened in ZonGuru was when I found our CTO, who is currently still a pretty large seller, right? So he's got the engineering background, but he knows our audience and world, as well as I do, and even better in a lot of ways. And when you can have an engineering or a team that really understands your product audience and can relate and understands the business model and everything there, it makes a huge difference to the business. So much so that we incentivize anyone in our team to become sellers. We know it can be, a great side gig, and obviously is a benefit for us at ZonGuru. So, we've incentivized all of our staff to become sellers, and we have some really successful ones that are part of our team. So we have that strong seller DNA, and it makes a huge difference, right? Yeah. On our business. But they also they collaborate, they mastermind together, they're improving their businesses, and they're in the know for sure, which is amazing. Yeah.
That's really cool. I like that, and just you're getting so much more experience, and then also keeping up with the current trends now too. When more people are involved selling their own products day to day, with how quickly things change in the Amazon ecosystem, that's an awesome way to approach it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the key reasons why I wanted to have Jon on the podcast today is talking about ChatGPT and AI and tying that into listing optimization. So we did a previous podcast episode on this. There's many different ways that we're leveraging the technology right now, but love talking about other key use cases. So, Jon, let's start with the basics. So for those who have heard of like ChatGPT but haven't used it or aren't familiar with it, can you kind of explain what it is just in general terms?
Yeah, I mean, there's many different applications for it, but at the end of the day, it's a pretty intelligent technology that you can prompt as individuals to perform certain tasks. So think of it as a really smart VA with access to a whole bunch of data, and the speed that it can perform those tasks is unreal. With great quality output, right? But it obviously is really dependent on us prompting that AI, that artificial intelligence. So that's nothing new. I think we've had, AI has been around since, before, since the start of the internet, right? But, what the big difference is and why, I jumped on it with our team is like, this was, going into late November, December of 2022, and the launch of this was that aha moment of like, it's putting this AI technology into the hands of the daily consumer, right? And it's going to become it is and will become more and more part of our daily life, where it's not just, you have to have a certain skill to be able to interact with that AI. You can literally just do it, typing into an open search field on your computer, right? And so when I realized that this was going to be that game-changing moment where we're all going to be using it in our daily lives, it's the fastest growing technology platform in terms of user base ever. It was something that I wanted to understand how we could bring that into our technology, our world, and obviously we jumped on that pretty quick.
Yeah, and we're taking the same approach where once they opened it up to the public and you could get in there, it was just amazing the context that you could get from it. So there's the typical chatbots that will just provide you like more standard responses. But what was so cool with this is just the additional ways you can steer it and the level of detail that you can get and the human like responses that you can get from this piece of technology. It's pretty amazing. There's now with ChatGPT 4 rolling out, now it's beating most standardized tests, and just the creativity that you can get out of the platform too. It's not just those canned responses anymore, and you can ask some pretty in-depth questions or get an output and then say, okay, make this sound less professional, or I guess not less professional, but more friendly or less business-like, or you can just help steer it. And there's so many different ways that you can use it. Like we've got it pinned on our tabs, and it's just now getting in the habit of using it more and more for all these daily tasks. With Microsoft rolling out Copilot pretty soon, like that's going to be another cool way, like tying into Outlook and Word and Excel. And from a coding perspective too, just being able to type in what you're looking at for like code output, and it'll break it down into nice instructions and blocks. And yes, some of the blocks don't work quite right, but it steers you in the right direction. It's just been fascinating to see how, I don't know, all of a sudden it just seems like it went from AI being this term that marketers would use to make their product sound cool to now being extremely useful AI that's taken that next step. And I think that's why it's caught so many people's attention.
Yeah, for sure. And there's some scary aspects of it for sure, but hopefully we hang on to the ability to control it, right, in a lot of ways. But I think, what I'm seeing right now is to your point, is ChatGPT or AI in whatever format, it responds well to the intelligent creative questions that we ask it, right? And I think that's like a big thing in business. It's a big thing in being an employee or being in the work field or even in the school field. It's the quality and the thought that you put into your questions, right? And so that really like focuses on the creativity of us as individuals, which I think is the important thing of being in the human space. Like, this is a technology that can speed up things in a lot of ways, but really it's a reflection of how well and how intelligently we steer it, right? So it's quite exciting in that aspect, is it really helps us as humans to focus on our creativity, our intellect, and using that in ways to leverage a very powerful tool, right? So it's a very exciting space for sure.
Yeah. So, Jon, one of the key pieces I wanted to have you on is to talk about listing optimization. I got to speak at the Ad Lab workshop coming up prior to Prosper on the first day of Prosper. And one of the key questions was ChatGPT. How can we use this within our Amazon businesses? And one item that came up was listing optimization. So kind of walk us through that application there. What do you see in terms of listing optimization, and how can we leverage ChatGPT or the power of AI for that?
Yeah, sure. It's a really good point. I think we see it still today, right? As sophisticated as Amazon and Amazon sellers are getting, we see everyone focusing on outside traffic, even PPC, on platform inside of Amazon, trying to grow their business. But at the end of the day, if you're doing it on a listing that is not maximized to its potential, you're leaving money on the table, right? You're leaving organic growth on the table. You're leaving a lot on the table, right? So ensuring that you get your basics 100% right is critical. And, especially with the changes, I would say, that are happening with Amazon's algorithm. People say A10, it's not A10, but, there are clearly updates happening to the algorithm all the time. And from our testing and from some of our conversations, click-through rate is obviously an important thing. Driving traffic to a listing is obviously critical, but the click-through rate is a key thing, because the more you get there, obviously, the more sales Amazon's going to make, and then obviously the conversion side, right? So, how does ChatGPT play into that? And how we leveraging it anyway is what's great about our listing optimization tool is, from the beginning, when we created our tool, whether it's our keyword research tool or our listing optimization tool for content, I coined the phrase of contextual SEO on Amazon, right? And so what I mean by that is, we're always trying to optimize a listing to the best of its ability, but we also want to understand how well does that compare to the best listings in your niche, right? How well are your competitors optimized? Where are they strong? Where are they weak? And how do you effectively match that or beat them, right? And so that's what our tool does a really good job of, is we give you, yes, here's the best keywords that you should be optimizing for. Here's the opportunity keywords where your competitors aren't focusing. But more importantly, when you're creating a listing on the content side, you can pull in and compare your main top competitors on your, and they will get rated within that niche. So what's really cool about that is that, when you're creating a listing, whether it's from scratch or from AI, you get a score on how well that listing is optimized, and you can compare that to the main listings on page one. And what I would say AI does an incredible job of is, because of the way we prompted and what we figured out, is we can take a list of keywords and we can build a listing in theory that is extremely well optimized, in terms of how we've placed keywords, most relevant, highest search volumes, the ones you want to focus on, title, bullets, descriptions, back in search terms, and more importantly, matching it in a way that works really well for the algorithm. So it's very easy to say, hey, I'm going to write a listing using all these keywords, but when you actually take an account manager or a brand manager or an owner, and you say, write this listing so that it actually optimizes for the keywords in the right way, without overstuffing, without repeating, you get exact phrase, broad match in the right kind of way. That's a skill, and it might take you 2 hours or longer to do that. And with ChatGPT, you get a well-optimized listing in under 30 seconds that is typically about 30% better on its actual SEO score than the best listings on page one. So, that's a game changer, because at a high level, you're you're getting a baseline that is incredibly well optimized for the main keywords in 30 seconds, that then you can bring your creativity and your expertise on top of that to get it to a place where now you've got a baseline that is well matched for getting the most keywords and traffic, and hopefully you can help it with click-through rates on your images, etc. But then on conversion, you can finesse it a little bit further and make sure that it nails it for conversion as well.
Yeah, I love that. And so I just want to unpack a couple items that you covered too. So one is kind of the focus on the algorithm updates. And like when you and I were starting selling, Amazon at that time, they were really trying to get as many products as they could on the platform. And so it was really focused on quantity. And what we've seen over time is it really starts shifting more towards quality. So they want to give their customers the best experience possible. And to do that, let's show them the best performing products. If other people, there's that social proof. If other people are buying this, they're liking it, they're giving it good reviews. Let's rank them higher. And so, like you were saying, the focus on click-through rate and conversion rate, they're more critical than ever. And yes, a lot of people like to focus, and this is coming from the ads guy, people like to focus on advertising or outside traffic. But until you've got your listing fully optimized to hit on those conversion rate pieces, those click-through rate pieces, you're either going to be wasting money on sending traffic to a listing that could have sold more, or you could just be, I guess, wasting money for both cases. And so I totally agree. You have to start on the product side, the conversion side, and that has such a key impact. And just changing that can change your ad performance without even touching your ads overall. So that was one key piece. And Jon, as you're going through and looking at these listings then, so are you feeding in specific keywords? So are you having them look at, say, like, all right, what's the top performing keywords on the advertising side? Or is this user generated? Or is it pulled from other competitors? Like, how are you getting the information that you're prompting in to optimize these listings?
Yeah, it's a critical piece. I want to come back to just a note, but I want to come back to some ideas on conversion as well that I think will be helpful to listeners. Because to your point, I think, Amazon has hit, it has got a lot of products, right? But it's like, what are the ones that are already performing well? What are the ones that can make Amazon the most money and move through their system in the quickest way, right? So that they save money on their distribution and logistics. That's the kind of thing that really they need to focus on, and click-through rate and conversion is critical on that, right? So there are definitely ways to improve conversion, which we can talk about. But coming back to the keywords, that's why the ChatGPT integration works so well on our platform, is because of the quality of the prompts, which is based on the keywords that we can get at, right? And our keyword tool is called Keywords on Fire, and I would say it's industry leading in a number of ways. And specifically, when we built the tool, we really, and with all our tools, we focus on what's the 80-20 rule of what's really going to move the needle, what's the most impactful thing, what's the most relevant keywords. And relevancy for us is not just based on typical software tools out there that might do a reverse ASIN on some competitors and find the keywords that they index for and give you that as your baseline of keywords. Well, what we do is yes, we do that, but our technology really focuses on seeding the niche based on a buyer keyword and the various listings that are best optimized for those buyer keywords, and you can seed it with multiple buyer keywords and multiple listings. And we do, yes, a reverse ASIN or an index on that, but then we dedupe that with really important API data that we have access to try and answer the question of, like, not just like, hey, what are people what are people indexing for, competitors, but what are customers actually typing into Amazon? And we try and pull that up, that we dedupe with that list, and then we run it through a relevancy filter. So you're not going to end up with 10,000 non-relevant keywords. You're going to end up with a very specific list of very relevant keywords, 500 to 1,000 or whatever it is, for that niche that cover what people are actually typing into Amazon as a core component of that. And you'll see when you look at our keywords versus other tools, you'll see a lot of opportunity there because we get at those localized keywords. If you run our keyword thing in a keyword tool in Germany, you'll see a lot of keywords there that simply other tools don't pick up. So that is a really important piece, because if we can feed that relevancy and that keyword quality to the ChatGPT, and then tell it how to build the listing. Hey, these are the most relevant keywords that customers are searching for to find this product, and match that in your title first, then follow it with your bullets, and then follow it with your description and your back-end search terms. You have a really well optimized listing that's juiced for the algorithm, right? Which is what we want to have. And we also can pull in the back-end search terms, which is quite a unique feature on our tool as well. So that's kind of how we get at it. And there's a lot of sophistication ways that you can look at within that. If you're in a much more competitive niche, you can find opportunistic keywords that you can tell it to optimize for in the title versus ones that are more competitive, etc. So a lot of fun things you can do there too.
Yeah. And just tying this back to other topics we talked about on the podcast too. So one is kind of like speaking to your avatar, or your ideal customer. We were focusing on ads at the time, but you're doing the same thing with the listings too. So all right, 80-20 rule. Here's the major keywords that are going to move the needle for us. Now let's make sure that one, the listing speaks to the algorithm. So that's going to be key for relevancy and getting shown. But the other piece is, is this speaking to the person who just typed in that search term? And does that immediately say, okay, yep, this is the product that's going to solve my problem, because it obviously matches what I just typed in. And so I think that's really cool. And it's just another way that helps increase click-through rate and conversion rate. And then the other piece that was cool to hear too, and this is some of the pushback that I get when I'm talking about AI or ChatGPT is, well, hey, I don't want to trust this computer to generate all this creative stuff. And the key message is, well, yeah, but you can use it as a great starting point, and you're still going to review it and look through it, and you can still tweak it as you go. And so I think that's the key thing. It provides a really solid foundation. You can still go through and revise it, or if you don't like the prompt, you can change it and have it take it in a different direction too. And so, some people approach us as like, I'm just handing over the keys to AI. No, but you're helping it build that foundation for you in the process. And then you can use that and tweak it as you go.
100%. Yeah. And so it's a baseline, right? And I would say it's at 85% there, in 30 seconds. And more importantly, that 85% is like, are we giving it the best opportunity to get the most search volume, to your listing, and obviously, hopefully get the most relevant terms so you get the strongest click-through rate, right? So that's what it helps on the content side from the beginning. But in terms of how that actually converts, that is where the expertise and the creativity from the business owner or the agency or whatever, they have to put that level of thought into it. So this is absolutely not, a piece of technology that you should, generate in 30 seconds and publish directly to Amazon, right? You need to do the work on it to make sure that it's exactly right, that, it matches the brand, it matches, everything else. You can obviously use tonality, you can do language, all that stuff inside of our tool, but it requires that level of expertise. And if you don't put that on there, you're missing a trick, right? You're missing the potential of what it can be. I think importantly, the listing is there, and all the copy and the benefits. How much customers actually read that is up in the air. I mean, they probably don't spend a lot of time reading that detail, but it's there to kind of get the algorithm, ranked for the algorithm as best as possible, and then using that insight to create your images, your image overlays, and get the conversion that way. And that's where, coming back to the point of conversion, I would say, some of the important things to do is we have a tool called the love-hate tool, which really does a word cloud assimilation around positive and negative reviews, sentiment from customers, right? And getting the insight into what they truly care about. So yes, we may understand at a high level what our customers care about, but looking through reviews and getting insights there give us some really good pointers. Hey, this is what we should be focusing on. This is what they care about in a product. So bringing that insight into your listing is critical. One hack that I think is any business owner on the Amazon side should do is get someone in their target audience to go through the buyer decision process of finding and ordering any product in your category, and then recording that with a video screen share software, and speaking out loud about what are the questions that you need answers on to buy a product. And hands down, if you do one or two of those with two people in the audience, two people that are your audience, you will find insights there that literally people are missing in their listings that will help with conversion. And it's typically, there's one dimension that is so critical that is missing from the images or whatever, that if you add that dimension, your conversion rate goes through the roof, right? So
it's really easy to miss those too as a brand owner, because you're so close to the products that you just assume that everybody's got to know that. And so I love that. That's a great hack to incorporate in.
Yeah. We've done it with products, and you see a massive increase in conversion just because it's crazy. You can go to like a competitive category, and the top 6 listings don't even have that aspect in their listing, and you just add it to yours, and it makes a huge difference, right? And that's what Amazon's looking for, because all of that work done to get traffic to your listing is actually converting, making Amazon money, moving things through their logistics, which cost them, right? And just getting their engine working at a better level. So you're going to get more juice, more traffic for sure. So yeah, it's an interesting world. We are at ChatGPT 2. Probably by the time this comes out, we're testing 4 right now, and there's a significant improvement in 4 for sure.
Sure.
Not only on the content side, but the image side and everything else. So, it's getting pretty wild out there.
Do you see it getting used? I mean, because we've got like the Dolly engine, there's Midjourney, there's a bunch of other ones too. Do you see it getting incorporated in on the image side?
Yes, I do see that. I still think that there's a long way to go there. And I think it's probably an interesting way to maybe, explore the creativity and brainstorming around what those images could do, right? And maybe testing your main image or kind of coming up with different ways to do that, because that ultimately helps with click-through rate, right? So if you can speed up the ability to brainstorm and test different creative angles, different creative ways of doing things, asking again really interesting questions of the AI and seeing what comes back in terms of images, I think that's good input to come up with your actual images that you want to create through photographers or whatever. But I still feel like the images are so critical to the conversion, the connection with your customers, that they're not quite there yet. But I think it's going to get there quite soon. But again, it's like, what are you prompted with? How creative are you? What's your expert opinion that you're bringing to the prompts?
Sure. That's
what's going to give you a great output. So, it's not just a matter of creating 1,000 images with ChatGPT or whatever. So
yeah. I love it. Well, this has been a really fun conversation. For people who want to find out more about you or more about ZonGuru, where should they go?
Yeah, obviously LinkedIn. I'm on there a lot. So if you want to connect with me there, that's great. And then ZonGuru.com. We have a team there waiting to connect with you on chat. We have a live chat there, just jump on there. Obviously social channels, blogs, etc. So if you want to get me personally, just go through LinkedIn and we can connect there for sure. But yeah, again, our audience is private label sellers globally, using our platform, and then agencies, which we've got a really strong product market fit there, and we're helping a lot of agencies scale by being more efficient and helping with the outputs across all the account managers. So if you want to connect with us, love to connect there.
That's awesome. Well, this has been a really fun conversation. So thanks for joining, Jon. And for everybody joining on the Ed Project podcast, as always, we appreciate you listening. We'll see you on the next episode. And as a little PS, if you know anybody who needs their listings optimized or feel like you learned something from this podcast, if you could share it with them, that would be awesome. So again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Joe. That was awesome.